we are live across all of the LinkedIn channels and interwebs with Robert Cioffi of Progressive Computing. Robert, my good friend, great to see you again.
It is awesome to see you, Bryce. Thank you for having me with you today for this conversation.
Perfect. And I don't want to get too sappy and nostalgic, but I know you do at times, when it merits it, and I do at times. Who thought, as we're going into the Crystal Ball edition of 2025, that we'd look back at our first MSP Experience Lounge in January was none other than you and me a full 11 months ago. The time this year has flown by. I'm sure you would agree.
It has certainly flown by. Yeah, I'm glad to have been the two bookends, right?
They were the bookends of the year. What a better way to sandwich all this amazing content. You went out and recorded a bunch of MSP Game Changers videos along the way as well. We had MSP Experience Summit with Accent and a Game Changer Award and tons of stuff in the year. I mean, well, I'd love to hear just about how your holidays went, and then we get into a little bit of recap. So
yeah, Thanksgiving was great. Thank you for asking. Intentionally stayed home. Just my wife and my two daughters. One of which was actually she just finished her MBA last night. We went to celebrate with her up at Troy, New York. She got her MBA at RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. So we're super proud about that. What else? So we just decided to keep it low key, stay home for Thanksgiving. We'll do Christmas at Christmas Eve, which is a big Italian thing.
I was going to say,
so we'll be at
what part of Christmas?
Yeah, we'll be at my brother's house or one of my brother's houses. And then Christmas Day we'll be home. And then couple days after that, we're going on a cruise out of Tampa. So looking forward to getting some sunshine and sand, hopefully. Excellent. In that, because New York being New York in the winter, not only is it super dark early, but not a lot of great weather here.
I was gonna say Long Island Sound. You got the sand. You got sunshine. Maybe one day out of 2 months in there somewhere. What are you complaining about?
I don't know. Well, one year I convinced them we rented a house right on the beach in Long Beach Island, New Jersey, which is absolutely stunning. Couldn't afford that house during the summer,
right?
But we did the Christmas New Year's break there. It was pretty amazing to be on the beach. If you have never done that in the dead of winter, it's pretty awesome.
It's kind of fun. Yeah. Excellent. All right, I'd love to invite everyone tuning in. Please ask a ton of questions. We've done a couple sessions in other venues. I think we call it the partner roundtable, Robert, where you did Ask Me Anything, an AMA, and the response to that was incredible. Just all kinds of questions. So we're going to be recapping 2024 very briefly and really trying to dive in as fast as possible with our crystal ball and maybe a magic 8-ball here we go. All right, we got all the prognostication methods short of a woodchuck on hand. And we're going to dive in, but we'd love to hear from you, our audience, people tuning in. What questions do you have? What have you seen this year that you're interested in for the next year? What are some things you're hearing about that you want to learn more about? What conversation do you want to have with your peers? Again, the MSP Experience Lounge is for you. It's hopefully you're eating a quick lunch. I know you're really busy. Hopefully you've taken a little bit of time off to just tune in, grab some community time with us and hear. So Robert, 2024 in a nutshell, we didn't prep this or anything, but how do you distill such a crazy year down?
Number one, I can say I'm glad it's kind of behind us. Not that it was a bad year for us, but it was one of those years where, and I'm sure anyone out there, really almost in any business, and I'll say maybe more specifically small businesses, that deals with customers directly and on an account management or even on the sales side. So I get involved in a lot of strategic account management here. And I heard one recurring theme all year long was, let's wait till after the election, right? Mm-hmm. Not to get political. I don't care how you voted, which way you're happy or upset. Doesn't matter. We got stalled on a lot of different decisions that I'm now hoping for 2025. And I know hope is not a strategy, but hoping that 2025 now starts to loosen that up, because with technology specifically, this, Bryce, you have all this pent up demand. Eventually it's like a rubber band that's going to snap. So, and on top of that, if I may quote the experts, don't trust me, Service Leadership, which is owned or is part of Evolve, owned by ConnectWise, their data shows over many years that post-election, those years are really good sales years for
Right.
MSPs. I don't know if that's true also for SMBs in general. So we have high optimism about what we're doing here. Plus, we're almost 32 years old. In February, the company turns 32. We've made some big, bold maneuvers this year. We
Mhm.
hired a full-time chief operating officer, who's essentially the key decision maker now in the organization, which is great for my partner and I. We're maturing. We're looking to the future. We're looking at a couple of different things. We're optimizing the way we both spend money and our strategy. So I've got a lot of optimism in my heart.
Perfect. Yeah. It's odd. You didn't hear a lot of people delaying their project decisions or key technology investment decisions for the Olympics.
No,
What's up with that? Just like,
yeah,
well, let's
no,
just see how
I
Paris goes, and
yeah,
then we'll.
I've got to go watch pole vaulting. I don't need to worry about my
Exactly.
IT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's this crazy psychology. I get it. Listen, I also had strong emotions about the election. Doesn't matter which way, but um, I can see that a lot of people will feel that way, and unfortunately, emotions are part of all business decisions.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever you feel about it, the decision has been made. There's some
There we
level
are.
of clarity. There's some policies on the table. There's some industries. There's some ideas around finance, things like that are at least on the table that people can at least it's something to read the tea leaves rather than two different types of solutions. There's one sort of train leaving the station right now, and
Yes.
anecdotally, I've heard that a lot. At IT Nation Connect was literally crazy timing. The day of for the first day, the
Oh, that's
election
right,
night,
that's
the
right,
second
election,
day,
that's
and
exactly, yeah.
because it was fairly clear fairly early on, we got to a little bit of earlier chatter than maybe otherwise you'd get around, okay, I'm hearing this from my customers, or I'm following up on these people, or now
Yeah.
I think this thing is going to pick up pace. So yeah, definitely something that's a factor. Anything else that stands out? I mean, of course, we've had the kind of the quote unquote normal routines and volume of cyber attacks. I'm not sure if anything really shook people to the core, like the MGM one a few years ago, which just really grabbed headlines and things like that. But of
Yeah,
course,
I
that was
mean,
always there.
there's just continued stories, right? And
Yeah.
so what I would encourage you to do, and I'm actually, we didn't prep this, Bryce, but this morning I had been, or I received a text message from, I'll say, a friend in the industry who I met because she was attacked last year.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter exactly how we got connected, but we were virtual strangers at the time. And unfortunately, she had to close her business.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's you don't hear about stories like this. Now, I mean, let me try to be a little optimistic here. I'm very encouraged by her and her words and her state of mind and what she's doing, but she wants to come back, and I think she will make a comeback. So that's inspiring. But, the pain and suffering that she and her family and her team and even her clients had to go through, she had to shutter her doors. And that's a stark reality about our world, not only
Yeah.
our customers, but as an MSP, um, who's really at the epicenter of a lot of these attacks. There's some big high stakes involved. And so I think it's important for the community to be okay with talking about it, right?
Right.
And leaning on each other for help.
Yeah. And you were such an advocate for that, for the community and for this topic at large. You've been very vulnerable about your own experience, and you're really just trying to get the word out as
Yeah,
much as possible so that folks can just absorb that, have an open and honest conversation. The more we kind of sweep it under the rug, it almost plays into bad actors' hands of like together united we're stronger. Just having that knowledge and
precisely.
that visibility. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. And of course, again, if you folks have questions, discussions, we'd love to hear what people are, what's keeping up at night as we go into 2025. So, um, what is something that you want to kind of key in on first? I know that we had a number of
Well,
jumping off points.
yeah, I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about. I think number one, it's that sense of optimism, and that we have a course in front of us. So I would just encourage everybody to make sure that they're meeting with their clients regularly. I can never say that word, right?
Yeah.
Regularly.
Often. Yeah.
Often, thanks. I should use the easier synonym. I've always got to overcomplicate life. That unto itself, what I just said, is something else to do in 25. And again, really for any business, simplify. Right? We're looking
Yeah.
at optimizing. Let me share with you one initiative.
Yeah.
Since I lead our cyber team here, from a management perspective, we made a lot of change in 2024 in terms of the mix of products and services and how we're bundling and different things that we're doing, and even hiring adding somebody to our staff. For 2025, I want to optimize that tool set. I want to optimize what we're doing. I want to work on efficiency with that. Doesn't necessarily mean automation, by the way, but just efficiency in general. I think automation is a subset of that.
Hmm.
Just in the way we do things, how we have things set up, even within the systems. The tool sets that we take on, Bryce, and that unto itself is another topic. But
Yeah.
the tool sets that we take on, there's just so many different nooks and crannies and different things that we could be turning on or doing with them. And unfortunately, we get so busy in delivering services to our customers that we often put that stuff on the back burner, right? An MSP, by definition, is a very reactive business, right?
Absolutely.
We react to things. A ticket comes in, a call comes in, right? I receive some message. I must respond quickly, right? With a smile on, right? And
Hmm.
do an excellent job. And then you say, all right, I'll get to that proactive thing later on, right? It's that typical, Eisenhower matrix of,
Right.
the urgent
Urgent.
versus the important.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what that is, please look it up. Just study it. It's super quick and easy, but it helps to bring some perspective to. You've got to find ways to work proactively on your business.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just treading water.
Yep. There's so much to unpack there, and of course, I overuse the analogy, but MSPs are too busy cutting down trees to sharpen your saw, right?
Yeah,
To get more effective at what you're doing. And you mentioned
I'm
all of
feeling
the
that.
reactive, all the reactive drivers in your business. We didn't even mention cyber attacks, releases, updates, things coming down like the software pike that they don't always give you notice of this is going to happen
Yep.
or that, and it's just like today. Oh, great! Today, not to name names, but today's blah 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 outage day or this update day, then I have to go and patch all the machines and do all that. So yeah, you get in that sort of behind the eight ball type of mentality, and then the things to get you out of it long term are to have better processes, better incident response plans, better connections to the community, all kinds of things that can kind of get you off of the treadmill a little bit. I call it the hamster wheel, a little bit off the hamster wheel, so that you're always going to have a reactive business and know that. But what are the processes? What are the proactive things? What are the efficiencies? Hiring new staff to really take over operations and get more efficient.
Yep.
What are the things you could do? So maybe if 2025, and I do want to talk about like kind of rough cost economics of how important labor is versus the cost of your tool set, and
Yep.
how much you invest in your people, and the people really truly are the lifeblood of the business and the service quality. If 2025 is just that mental marker or milestone to like, you know what, I'm going to take some extra time on the team, on the training, on efficiency. I'm sure we'll get to AI, but for me, AI is about automation. It's about making hard things faster, easier, and not just this kind of magical, wand or anything like that. So yeah, do you think are you hearing that from other folks? Is this a good checkpoint? Is that something you saw in 2024, and it's probably building up pace of let's really get serious about our operations, about our operational maturity?
Yeah, I think because there's other, one of the other factors at play here is, and you mentioned the word labor, right, and the cost of labor, and not that that's a bad thing, right? People deserve to be compensated for the value that they bring to the table.
Absolutely.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. In fact, I think everybody, any business owner feels I'd love to do more, but like this is what's fair,
Hmm.
right? Um, but the rising cost of labor and just even the rising cost of anything being in business.
Right.
In New York, I was just pumping gas. I mean, granted, it's premium gas for one of our cars, but I was close to $5 a gallon. I mean, that kind of hurts when you're doing that maybe once a week. If you look at food prices, right? Our food bills are astronomical at home, and I'm just talking about some personal experience here. But all of these factors weigh into the cost of doing business, insurance, right? Rent,
Yeah.
labor. Labor is a huge component of every MSP P's expenses or cost of business. And so it's only natural for all of us to go, hold on a second, right? Everything's going up. I got to figure out a way. And here's that word again, is to optimize, right? Become more efficient.
Hmm.
So it's really critical. At least the smart business folks out there are taking a hard look at this to determine, how do I do more with the same, more with less, or even if I have to do more with more, but more with more, but better,
Right.
right? So
One
that's
plus one
kind of where
equals
my
three.
headspace is and what I'm hearing from peers.
Right. Right. Yeah. You don't want to get into like a zero sum game with just in order to grow, you have to add X amount of clients. To do that, you have to add X amount of workforce, and there's kind of no way out of it. You're just really kind of making the same margins over and over. Yeah, you're scaling and the top line looks impressive, but if you really can't get economies of scale, get more efficient, get more optimized, then it kind of just becomes a bit of a sort of repetition of the same.
Yeah.
Isabella's asked, what's something, a big challenge for MSPs in 2024 that you think will change in 2025? We did cover this big checkpoint around decision making. Not sure
Yeah.
if that rises to the top of your list or other things.
Well, for me, it's more the conversation around AI, right? I went on a personal learning journey in 2023 when ChatGPT kind of burst out on the scene, burst in the
Mm,
scenes at the beginning of 2023. Went through one of those oh crap moments, like this thing is going to get big, and I better start getting a handle on it.
right.
So I've done some things around that, and it's not important exactly what I did, but some of it was education, some of it was like podcast with a friend, and I've done some other things here internally with our customers. 2024 was, I think, just driving a lot of awareness around it and
Hmm.
trying to feel out where the hell we're all going with this. Right. I think 2025 is where we're going to start to see some specific traction with things
Yeah.
with AI in it. And by the way, and my here's my advice on it from what I've studied, and I'm still a student on this path, is that start small, right? Don't try to conquer the world. Don't try to bring on a big thing, because it's still very new and very evolving very quickly. But already you're starting to hear, even in the news channels, a slightly different conversation around it than you heard 2 years ago.
Right.
2 years ago, it was Skynet is coming, right? We're all
Yeah.
going to be overcome by Terminators. Um, Now there's a lot more practicality to it. A lot of people are dabbling with AI, or they're starting to see it front and center in consumer products or within business products. People are getting more comfortable with it.
Hmm.
And now is the time for MSPs to put some serious proactive efforts into, how do I bring this technology? It's just like any other tool that we have.
Right.
How do I enable my customers to be better, do better, right? And use AI if it's applicable, because it may not even be.
That's right.
I know I said a lot there, but I just think this whole AI arc and trend is, if you follow Gartner's curve,
Like the product adoption curve
yeah,
or
they're
sort of
exactly.
technology. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we probably never even really hit the trough of disillusionment, where I think we're kind of already getting to that plateau of productivity, or
Hmm.
soon we'll be there, right? I don't think
Yeah.
we're there yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I think the hype cycle has definitely run its course, and to me, the most recent nail in the coffin was the Spotify Wrapped debacle, where they handed that to AI and it completely messed up.
Yeah,
Once you mess up people's music interests and they feel that they weren't seen and that it wasn't personalized enough, that was like the
yeah.
angry mobs with pitchforks and torches trying to burn down
Yep,
AI.
yeah.
Just like
Gartner hype cycle. Thank you, Alan. I couldn't, I've written about this. I just couldn't get the words out. Sometimes
oh
they,
yeah, yeah.
when you're on camera, you get frozen. There's millions of people watching me. What's
So
that
many
word?
frameworks. What is it? Hey, you
So,
got the Eisenhower matrix,
yeah,
so
yeah, I got
so
that at least.
nailed that one.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, thanks, Alan, for that. Yeah, I think that may again it's another personal journey for me. Like I've finally got to the point where it's not this big mind-boggling thing where I felt behind and I felt like, well, I'll never catch up because I don't know as much as other people, and so I almost like kind of resisted it in maybe mid 2023. It's just like that's just not for me. I'm already behind. I haven't really caught up, and then just like tactical things that are very specific that it's really doing well at. And I think I'm already becoming one of those folks where, at least for me, with the $20 a month like better subscription, I don't Google stuff anymore. I just use it. It
Yeah.
Googles things for me, but it still answers it way better. And I've done the tests like the other day. This is the dumbest example. Trying to cook enchiladas, and I forgot what the recipe was. It's like, on average, how many minutes do I need to bake this for? And I think in this case, it was the new Siri, the new Apple Intelligence thing, and it was like, I don't
Yep.
know, let me find it on the web. And it's just like the same thing that Siri would always do, which just like, I don't have the answer, but let me clumsily try to Google something for you.
Yeah.
Versus ChatGPT is like, yeah, about 16 to 20 minutes is
Yeah.
what you should do. Thank you. Like that's all I needed.
Well, there's value in that, or there's
There
value,
is, yeah.
there's different applications, if you really put your mind to it, in business use where that's very useful. But
Yeah.
again, I see it as an enabler. I see it as just another piece of technology. And I don't think, based upon what I'm seeing, is that AI is just going to completely upend and change everything.
Hmm.
It'll probably have the same impact the way the internet or cloud did. Like it was a big impact to business and how we do business. I'm
Absolutely.
sure AI will be as well. But I don't think the doom and gloom scenarios are coming. I don't think suddenly everyone's going to be out of a job.
Right, right. And there's just this, as fast as all these things are, the internet rolling out, the cloud, it's still this innovation diffusion model. It still has to go through people and best practices and
Totally.
turns. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, to me, I was like, oh my gosh, they're saying it's going to be, AGI within 6 months. And so, like, what? Don't even bother to learn because, like, I might as well be replaced by a robot. But
Yeah.
it's got to take years and decades, and I think we're kind of seeing that was a bit overstated, and we're coming
Well,
back to
well,
earth
who
again.
knows, Bryce? Maybe next year at this time there'll be an AI Robert and an AI Bryce
That's
doing this.
right. Yeah, if we're not doing this and we're
Yeah.
somewhere else, I
We'll
guess.
be like, in some dark basement chained up by some AI
Our
technology.
for our first 2025 crystal ball moment is we will do the 2025 wrap up and the 2026 crystal ball next year, not robots
Yeah.
or death Skynet bots, please. All right, um, amazing. Did we want to talk about, well, to unpack more what you said? AI is a tool, and the toolbox has never been bigger and better in terms of people, best practices,
Sure.
community, vendors, solution providers, point solutions, but it's getting unwieldy to a point. So we talk about consolidation and standardization a lot because not because we want to brag about it, but we hear from partners all the time. Oh my God, ever since I moved stuff to Axion, it's been so much better. I train my staff on one thing across, a couple of solutions in one portal, and everyone has the same IR plans and DR plans, and someone gets hit by a bus, and we know where the documentation is to go do that. We train new people on things. That's just for one small corner of the massive MSP universe, which is
Yep.
BCDR data protection. What are you thinking about just the sprawl of solutions, and is there a counter pendulum for some of
Yeah.
how to get better with that?
So, vendor community has done an incredible and awesome job in convincing every MSP to buy more and more stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to preface this with saying they're not doing anything wrong, right? But we need to find a better balance here because as MSPs, we've had this insatiable appetite to just keep consuming tools and tools and tools. And I may have mentioned this to you before on previous live appearances or recorded ones as well that when I'll ask my peers, "Hey, how many tools do you have in your business?" And don't like just back of the napkin, right off the top of your head, how many do you think you have? And a very common answer I'll hear is, "Well, maybe 20 or 25," right? And then I say, "Okay, great. Go do some homework, go inventory everything, and come back to me with the number."
Tell me the
And
real
people are like,
number.
"I couldn't believe it. It's like 52," right?
Yep.
And so if you think about now, a couple of different things. Number one, now put a dollar amount next to all of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not advocating that you go just cancel a bunch of subscriptions to save some money. It's not what I'm talking about. But it's more, again, I'm going to go back to that word efficiency, or the other word optimization.
Optimization.
If you think about a lot of the tools that we use, and especially the ones that we adopt, only do it halfway, right? And then never bother to check the release notes over the next 2 years. And
Mm-hmm.
how many of us in this industry don't even recognize or realize that a tool that we started using 2 years ago now also does something else. We didn't even realize it.
Oh yeah.
So go create that Venn diagram, if you would, and see where all those overlaps are, and recognize or look for things that you might be able to eliminate from your tool stack, for a couple of reasons. Because it's unwieldy to manage 52 different tool sets.
Mm-hmm.
It's inefficient from a business dollar expense perspective, right? You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your customers and your employees as well, to run a profitable operation. But you can likely reduce also the amount of time and the headache of having to manage all of these different things. So it's a little bit of that sort of, do more with less, or do the same with less.
Yeah.
Either one of those scenarios, I think, works out extremely well for us. So we've started that process. We've done it. We did it sort of a light version of it. We're doing a much deeper, more intense drive now, to determine, where can we save some money. And I think the numbers will shock and surprise you if you just do that little internal accounting. And listen, we're a close to a 30-person organization here.
Mm-hmm.
I would also encourage those that are only, let's say, a 3 or a 5-man shop. Don't think you're too small for this. Like,
Right.
take a look. You might be surprised what you find. And even saving, let's say, 300 or 500 bucks a month. I mean, that's money. That's real
Yep.
money.
Yep. Especially when it's recurring and it's a subscription. Yeah, it's kind of like the Rocket Money ads you see, or the
Yeah.
or the Nerd Wallet kind of stuff. It's just like, what
Yeah,
subscriptions
exactly
do you have?
that,
Like,
right.
do I really need
Yeah.
Netflix and Max and Paramount Plus and like all that stuff?
Yes,
like,
I
what
do.
can I get rid of? Yeah, gotta watch all my shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you go through that exercise, and this is a great checkpoint as we kind of round the corner into 2025, do me a favor, or yourself a favor, right? Think about the labor, the man hours, the staffing component of those. So it's one thing to just look at the spreadsheet and
Right.
here's all the
Yes.
subscription. How much time are people spending on? And of course, people are going to look at, my stack is this. I sell my stack for $150 a person because it's got everything. It's got cyber, it's monitoring. I'm doing
Yep.
all this stuff for everybody. And I guess the good part of that is, great, you have your stack and you don't have to overcomplicate the sales process, and you can drive great margins for yourself, which is the whole point, and what a lot of solution providers really want you to do as well as possible, is drive amazing margins that keep your business growing and help you serve as many clients as possible. But on the flip side, it's like all this stuff sneaks into the stack, and things kind of, did the support get worse for that product? Did the features not keep up with the pace of what you think you're paying for?
Right.
Did something else that you already have actually add an add-on that could do the job of that thing? And so you're duplicating your spend for that. And there's just, there's a lot of it that goes in the formula for it.
So Bryce, here's, and maybe we can move on to another subject here,
Yeah.
but maybe final thought from me on this is, when you're, and again, I'm not beating up vendors, right? Because I love them, because they do amazing stuff for us. But ask a vendor, what does your tool cost? And you'll typically, 99% of the time, you'll typically get, oh, it's $1 per user per month. And I'm like, no. What's my cost, right?
Yeah.
And what I really mean by that is the thing that you said is the labor component. How much time do I need to spend on this, managing it? Because that's the real cost. The hard cost is the $1 per user per month. The real cost is, I've got to add a 0.2, full-time equivalent in order to be able to manage this tool alone. Oh my goodness, that's expensive.
Yep. That's how you extract the value from the tool. If you don't have people working on it or using it, it's very rare that it can just magically do what you want.
No, it's not. And there are a few out there, but there are very few that will just run autonomously with very little care.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next prediction trend. What are you hearing from folks?
I don't know. I got to consult the magic 8-ball.
Right. Yeah. Will we be replaced by robots for next year's recap?
Well, I'll tell you. It says, my reply is no.
All
So see,
right.
I'm super smart because the Magic 8 Ball agrees with me.
That's
I
great.
don't think we'll be replaced by robots. That was an easy one.
Good. Good to have a harder one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, as I've been talking to folks, um, definitely keeping ahead of the cyber landscape and this sort of shooting match of bad actors getting worse and more powerful. And, I'm just a 5-man shop,
Yep.
and what can I do? Um, and I'm sure we'll talk about, like frameworks and compliance here in a second, because compliance is always a big trend as well.
Very important.
But I know you've gone through a little bit of this journey and consulted with folks who do this. How, kind of like the AI thing. How do you get people just to get started if they're doing, if they have these tools and they kind of have the security stance, but they want to get to that next level of the security stance? It seems very daunting.
Yeah,
But
it is.
how do you encourage people just to get going?
It is very daunting, and you already kind of said the answer is it's just like anything else, right? Start, just start, right? There's
Mhm.
and I'm going to offend some culture here. I don't know if it's a Japanese or a Chinese proverb, but it's one of those two, or maybe it's even a third. So maybe I've really royally goofed this up, but it goes like this: when is the best time to plant a tree? And that's 20 years ago, right?
Right.
When is the second best time? Today, right?
Yeah.
So start. So regardless of what culture takes ownership of that um, um, saying or proverb, live it, right? Just start. Now, the second piece of advice that I always give people is, but don't make this crap up by yourself, right? I know
Hmm.
you're smart. I'm smart too, right? But there's a lot of much smarter people than the two of us combined. So that's where I really lean heavily into things like frameworks. For me, for us, CIS controls resonated incredibly well for us. It gave
Right.
us a path, it gave us a blueprint, it gave us a standard by which, and a prescription. There's another word that I really like, a prescription to follow. Now, did we just do it completely blind? No, we used our heads, but there's a there's not much in it that I would challenge, really, if anything at all. It was more about choices of timing. Do I do this now? Do I do it later? The cost of not only the tool, but the labor that goes in behind that. That's kind of daunting. So maybe I'll skip ahead and go do the next one, even though I'm going a little bit out of order.
Yeah.
Right. So, or maybe I just don't have the right people, or I don't have the time, or there's a lot of different factors, but start. That's the point. Is and lean into also your peers, right? I know
Hmm.
there's a lot of MSPs out there that go to the conferences, that will mind share, that are open books with each other. They have even friends in the local community running competitive organizations that they'll network with and put their heads together. That's great too.
Yeah.
But for those that may not do so much of that, you're missing out on a massive opportunity of peering. To me, that has been the biggest single change agent within our organization, and has impacted us likely the most, is just the ability to sit in a room with like-minded people in the same business and just figure stuff out together.
Yeah. Last month, we had Bob on with IRGame.ai.
Oh yeah,
And I think that's December 20th is the next one coming up. Yeah, that's a free ability
I
to
think it is.
join
Yeah,
the
Friday, right?
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, just irgame.ai. I'll keep pitching that. It's just as another example of just get started, find the community, learn about things, and that should be
Yep.
an eye-opening
And listen,
experience for you.
Bob's an amazing individual, COO of like a 125 person MSP down in Louisiana. He's an incredibly kind and generous and smart man, right? Put this whole thing together as a volunteer. I would not have known him if it not had been for all of my networking experiences.
Right.
And I feel like he's, helped us just in networking with the guy. So
Mhm.
just go out there and make friends.
It's kind of back to the original topic. What do you feel about cyber insurance? If folks aren't using that, is that pretty
Yeah.
much a given now for 2025 going forward? I mean, just the risk management aspect,
So
or
here's
it
a
depends.
philosophical answer to this, and
Yeah.
I'll pose it more as a question:
Hmm.
is do you mandate? So I'm speaking to the MSPs out there. Do you mandate that your customers have to have a cyber liability
Mm-mm.
insurance policy? And if
Right.
you talk to any one of the three or four big name lawyers in the MSP space. I'm going to venture a guess, and I know two of them well. I don't know the other ones as well, but I know two of them. I know what their opinions are, and it's a hell yes, right?
Mhm.
You have to have it. Now, if you don't want to mandate that for your customers, then you got to have at least provisions within your agreements to say, hey, if there's a cyber event, right? Like it's all bets are off, which means that's why you need to have a policy to cover the cost of recovery.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. And so that I see as a big trend in our community is MSPs is kind of drawing the line or making it very clear this isn't covered, right? This is let me put it in a different way. Everybody looks, especially if you're in an MSP, you look at a cyber event as a technical thing.
Mhm.
But let me change your perspective. Remember, first and foremost, it's a crime.
Right.
The law has been broken, right? There are criminals, not threat actors, right? We can put all hackers or guys in hoodies and all other silly things other labels that you may want to put on them.
Right.
But the first thing that you should label them with is they're criminals and a crime has taken place. Does that change your perspective now? Right. It
Right.
did for me, right? And it helped me kind of orient things and go, oh yeah, maybe that's why insurance really, is really important here. Other than the fact that you could find yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't have policy protections in place, not only just for your MSP, but also asking all of your customers to have their own protection.
Right. Yeah, that's an amazing perspective. But we talk about that, but to frame it and just the nature of the MSP owner, principal, a lot of folks that go into the business is very much this helping hand. Like I want to look out for other people, and so like okay, if
Of
this
course.
happens, like which is great and noble, but there are in all walks of life these separations and these boundaries of like how can you help the most,
Yep.
by having a strict policy for folks of you have to be covered. You have to I'm going to do this and this is within my expertise, and then when crimes are committed, that is
Yep.
not really, I'm not a law enforcement officer, and so like that has to be in its own place and have its own solutions and things like that.
You and I are not insurance folks. We're not legal experts. We're not criminal experts. We're none of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the people who need to be involved in that first. And very often, IT people look at it like, "Oh, I can fix this,"
Right,
right?
right, right,
And
right.
and again, it's that good-hearted nature of
Because they
I
want to
want to
help. Yeah.
I want to protect and care for you. Ooh, something bad happened. I want to fix it, right? I want to help. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the worst thing that you can do in terms of a reaction.
Yeah.
As everyone here has heard me say a million times, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So while our heart's in the right place, we gotta get our heads in the right place first.
Yeah. I don't expect you to, have government and state by state rollout of new compliance regulations
I have
in a
them all
crystal
memorized.
in a literal
Don't
crystal
you?
ball for
Yeah,
2025. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
yeah,
I'm a consultant, but it's safe to say it's going to pick up pace, right? We've had things around the defense kind of infrastructure,
yep.
but then now we've got state by state. California this, Europe that, Canada that. What are you hearing? How are you feeling about that?
Well, what I'm feeling is exactly what you began to outline there is that there's these trends happening, right? And I think it's only a matter of time before MSPs, because we're supporting what probably 50% of the economy, right? The SMBs of the world is actually over 50% of the U.S. economy, or
Mm-hmm.
it's just around that mark. Even if I'm off a little bit, doesn't matter. It's a huge chunk. And if you think about it, Bryce, and I've said this so many times before, um, if I tried to practice law and didn't have a law degree, I'd be arrested. Same thing with financial advice. Same thing with medicine. Crazy story. I just heard, and this morning I heard a story of a unlicensed dentist practicing dentistry out of her
Well,
apartment here in New York, serving people who can't afford dentistry, and it created a really bad situation for somebody. What I'm getting at here is even just got a calendar from the real estate agent who sold us our home many years ago, right? She sends us a calendar. at the end of the year for the following year. The girl who cuts my hair even needs a license,
Oh yeah.
right? And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have a license, but thinking about what we do, any one of us can print a business card, call ourselves an MSP tomorrow. So
Hmm.
between regulation coming, right, and or happening at certain levels, I think it's only a matter of time before we have to self-organize, much like CPAs or much like an organization
Sure.
like a
Engineers.
FINRA.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything.
Something has to happen here, or some sort of accreditation, so that and I look at this as a good thing, right? Not as an impediment, but there should be some barrier to entry in our business.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
And professional, levels of service, guarantees and things like that. So yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And how many of us lament when we're sitting in front of that ideal prospect, right? The right size, right? The right kind of business, the right geography, a lot of other check boxes that are checked off. And then you hear something like, oh, the incumbent is charging like, $40 a month all in on some,
Right.
some plan. And that's what their budget is accustomed to. The ironic thing is they're complaining about how crappy the service is,
Of course.
and now we have to sort of deprogram them and not get to undo the programming that they've been in mentally, to think this is the way things are done and this is the way it's this is how much it costs,
Right.
right? And they don't the consumer doesn't recognize what the real value is, or what the real value should be, and what the associated price for that value should be.
Right. And what the risks are when, you're talking about an apples and oranges situation, and more clearly what the risks are with going with someone who's just running this off of Excel spreadsheets and not, doesn't have the
Yeah.
proper tooling and visibility and remediation capabilities and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we've got to AI tool set, solutions,
We're all over the
optimization,
map.
efficiency, compliance. There's plenty. Anything else? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things, and another data point that I'll steal from service leadership is that, and this is kind of widely known. If you think about I think the number is that 1/3 of MSP owners are like my age and above, right? Like, I'm a Gen Xer. I don't mind saying to the world, I'm 56 years old, right? I started this company with my business partner, who's a year younger than me, 32 years ago. To go do the math, right?
mhm.
We were kids essentially when we started this thing, but about a third of us are in this boat, and maybe even older. And we've really got to be thinking about our futures, right? Can any of if you're my age, are you going to be in this business another 30 years? If you are, maybe you need to have your head examined. At some point, like, you kind of need to let go or get out, or something, some sort of legacy planning or transitioning.
Yeah.
And then the other pressure is cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, right? All these other things that are just making this world so much more complicated, right? Potential regulation that may be coming our way. There's a lot of people who I talk to in this business who have the sense of, you know what? I started this company because I really love technology and I love fixing things and I loved helping people. And I
Mhm.
found I had a business and I could make some good money. And suddenly I'm buying a new house because of it. But now it's gotten really heavy, right? And so there are those of us in this industry that are embracing that heaviness or
Right.
navigating that heaviness, and others who are like, listen, I'm 55, I'm 65, maybe I might even be pushing 70. I need to get out. So all of that was a lead up to mergers and acquisitions,
Absolutely.
because you either are feeling the pressure of, either I have to grow, which I can't figure that out, right? That's actually another dynamic. Most
Right.
MSPs are technicians and they're not really good at sales slash marketing. And so they really can't grow. So the other opportunity for them is, maybe I'll join an organization, maybe I'll merge
Right.
into, or maybe I'll just sell and get out. So I think that activity, my prediction is only going to continue at the pace that it has been, right? I don't know if it's going to go up or down, but I know at least it's going to maintain. Well, if it goes down, then it won't, but I don't think it'll go down. I don't
Right.
know if it'll go up, but it's going to at least maintain the levels of activity that you've already seen historically.
which has been pretty strong for 2024. I mean,
Yeah.
this is selection bias on my part, but I talked to a lot of folks, and we, as we service MSPs and they join co-ops, platforms, strategics, they make their own acquisitions. We get to see all of that because it's like, hey, now we got this other instance, this other office, and this other town. We want to bring them all over to Axion and protect our data in a very standardized way. And then okay, awesome, let's get that going and let's go. So just internally, we see the M&A activity a lot. I completely agree. There's a demographic element to it. There's just a natural business element. There's just way more money pouring in, and so
Well,
we've
that's the
had a
other
couple.
element. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and yeah, I know people have thoughts about that. But it's a growing industry. Canalys always says this is 12 to 13 to 15% annual growth rate type of industry. The MSP sub industry within tech. I mean, it's a great business to be in, and now we get to see. You're right. It's kind of like it had been the let's do the garage office, and I'm setting up servers for people and getting the tape backups and doing all that, and just seeing how people have rolled with the punches and learned all the new technologies over 30 years is incredible to me. And now you're seeing them pass them on to their kids or to other folks in the business that have come up. And so that's what I'm trying to get to is that has a strategy all of its own. Believe me, as someone who's been through this recently, like the valuation that you want to get is you want to get as much as possible. And there's activities that you possibly would do in 2025 that'd be different to drive a higher valuation for an exit than you would if you were sort of business as usual. I got 10 more years and I want to
Yeah.
do this and that, and the other.
Oh,
Like they're
absolutely.
not the
Right.
exact
Yeah.
same activity set, right?
Yeah. And you know what, Bryce? Here's another thing for our organization who is eyeballing prospective acquisition targets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be unkind here, but what we're mainly seeing at the lower level, right? I'll say the $1 to $2 million mark. Many of the companies that we talk to don't have their books really all that straightened up or clean.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I know that's an overgeneralization there, but it's what we're seeing. It's
Right.
our empirical evidence.
Right.
What I would encourage companies of that size that may be thinking about or preparing for, hey, look, I probably got another 3 years. Then, my wife's already 1 foot in Florida, right? And, if I don't go with her in 3 years, she's going to divorce me. I got to get out, right? So start prepping your books, right?
Right.
Work with an accountant, work with peer associations to get your books clean, because that is the first step in making sure that you've got an attractive acquisition target for somebody, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to buy a hot stinking mess. I don't know whether you're making money or not,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or I can tell if you're making money because I can see the top line and the bottom line, but I can't see how the sausage is made, and I really need to see that, right?
Right.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
as an investor in your business or a buyer, I may lose my shirt because I didn't realize some of the crazy things that hopefully you're not doing, but you may be doing.
Right. If there's no visibility, you're gonna treat them as if they don't
Yeah,
have as high evaluation as what they are saying they do because they run a successful business. So
correct.
fine, just show us that and document it. Maybe the
If you've ever
catchphrase is
sold a house, right? It's called curb appeal, right? And straightening it up and
yeah,
the
yeah, absolutely.
presentation set up on the inside, getting rid of all your junk, putting everything away, right? Even with a car, would you sell a car that's dirty, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, you'd at least want to wash it, right?
Don't sell your MSP on Facebook Marketplace, I think is
No.
our takeaway here.
Well, if you want to, I mean, we're
Get
you're in
it
the New York
ready.
area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want everyone who wants to retire to Florida, cash out of this business and leave it to someone else to
Yep.
get as much for their hard effort, their 20-30 years of effort as possible. So,
Yeah.
we've in 2025, as we turn the corner, we've given MSPs another job. You have to be great with new technology, which you're probably pretty good at. You have to be good at sales and marketing, maybe not your cup of tea or your natural instinct. The compliance and regulation piece has probably been really annoying for you as you had to pick that up the last 2-3 years. And now you have to kind of be almost like a finance expert and skilled in the ways of M&A. But guess what? The community is here for you. There's courses, there's conversations, there's people who are happy to tell you all
Tons
about
of
how they
resources.
acquired, how they got acquired, all that stuff. It's all there. All you got to do is just talk to some people.
Yep. Plug in.
Plug in. Awesome. All right, Robert, this has been a great conversation. We always like to wind it down before the top of the hour. We know people are busy.
Sure. Yeah.
We've I always like to kind of point out when I'm going to see our guests next, and I will see you, I think, at Right of Boom. We've triangulated as probably our soonest
Definitely right of
opportunity.
boom. I'm the master of ceremonies for second year in a row. Thank you, Andrew Morgan, for putting your faith and trust in me to do that. That is a boatload of fun and an amazing conference. I don't mean to overly plug Right of Boom, but it's a great place to do all of the things that we're talking about: learning,
Yeah.
networking, plugging into a peer community. And there are many other conferences that
Yep.
I would say the same thing about.
Oh, absolutely. You did an amazing job last year. I was lucky enough to attend that one. If you're a partner and you're interested in getting serious in security, Right of Boom mid-February-ish in Vegas is a great opportunity.
Yep.
Tons of Axiom will be doing a pre-day BCDR workshop as well, so we're big on it, and data protection is a massive piece of security as well. All right. Other things that you wanted to cover coming up? You're re-upping for Evolve, it sounds like.
Yep, I'm an Evolve facilitator. For those that know me or know what that is, it's just a great way for me to exercise different leadership skills, keep me fresh. I also look at it as a way to sort of give back to those that may need help, and those that even have things kind of figured out. Just being the facilitator in the room, I learned so much just by interacting with all of these folks. So it's, I look at facilitation as a two-way street.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't miss that for the world. It's become an integral part of our existence here.
Yep. Got to be the go-giver as you are. Amazing. All right. Well, I think we covered all the questions that we got.
Okay.
We identify when we're going to hang out. We'll I'm not sure what I don't know if I've played craps with you personally, or if you were just kind of around. I know you were super busy last year.
I'll probably look over your shoulder, because one thing I am not is a gambler. And you think as an IT guy that, like, and I'm a data guy, right? Like numbers and
Just run
stuff
the
like
numbers.
that.
Yeah.
I think it's because I listened too carefully in my statistics classes, and just this whole law of probabilities. I know that the house always wins. So maybe I am a data guy, and that's why I don't gamble,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I just know I'm not smarter than Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I didn't know what I was doing either, clearly, but the sales guys and some of our partners were there, and I couldn't resist. So always
I
a good
kind of
time.
I kind of have fun watching friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's amazing. I have more than half the times that I watch them. So I don't know what it is that they end up doing
You're
well.
bringing the luck.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, I guess I'm bringing luck. Yeah.
Well, if I don't see you, Merry Christmas coming up. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
See you in the new year. It's
You
been
as
an
well. Merry
incredible.
Christmas.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been an incredible year for the lounge. You helped us kick it off, and we've had tons of amazing conversations. You and I've seen each other on the road quite a bit,
Yeah.
done some recordings, done some things. It's been grateful for 2024 and how we work together.
Well, listen, that's, if I can just say one last thing here for the audience is, Axient's very gracious to, tap me on my shoulder every now and then to come and help out. And I love doing it. But you know what? There's a lot of other amazing people who take part in these activities, whether they're putting on live events or these online events. A lot of smart people that they know in their partner community tune into these things, listen, and anything that I've said, you might disagree with on something, and that's fine. Go out and get other opinions to help inform your own. I'm not always right. Yes, I am. No, I'm not always right. That's what my ego tells me, is, of course, you're always right. But the truth is that, we get it wrong. I get it wrong sometimes, and I've changed my opinion. And a lot of that is influenced by conversations like this.
Yeah. And you're great at starting conversations in productive ways that are helping people, and weighing in on things that folks are going back and forth on, and giving a very experienced point of voice of reason in a lot of these discussions. So really appreciate that.
I appreciate that, Bryce. And
Awesome,
I appreciate
Robert.
you.
Oh, likewise. Yeah. I'm grateful for 2024. It's going to be great to hang out next year as well, as we continue on this journey with Evolve, ConnectWise, all the fun stuff. And I'll see you soon on the road.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks, Robert. All right.
Live long
Take care.
and prosper, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
See
Thanks.
ya.
Yeah.